Welcome back. Today we're talking about our birth experience. Of course, we want to know about your birth experience as well. And if you are pregnant and if it's something you are thinking about and want to learn more about, then of course, write to us and also ask us questions. What are your fears? What are your expectations? Or in case.
So was this before the C-section then?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So we walked in, we said, they did this, they did the whole thing, asked me if I couldn't feel anything low down. The whole process was super quick.
Yeah.
It was literally minutes. I mean, yeah, I just remember for me it was all like I hated the feeling, this numbness and this sort of not feeling your own body, and like that wasn't a pleasant experience. When he was born, my husband was there, obviously present, and he was, I think even he didn't expect his own reaction. He was, at first, because the baby was so blue, he was concerned, but actually turns out it was a normal thing, because obviously he's taken out purpley blue, yeah. But he cried straight away, and I just knew in the depth of hearts that he needed longer, and obviously they didn't want to risk it. They didn't want to risk me going to labor, but I was sure that it would be another 2 or 3 weeks, I think.
So do you have resentment towards them for pushing to have it done so soon?
No, I think everything was done. I have tremendous respect for doctors. I just do think everything is very much emergency based. I think it's not just the patient they're looking after, they're also covering themselves a great deal. So I think a lot of the procedures are very generalized for everyone, which is great. I mean, I have to say, the C-section was like military precision. You know, they were like checking, is this the name? Is this what is happening? Like the communication was really impressive to see how it was all coordinated. And I thought it was really exceptionally well done. And aftercare was really well done. So I don't want to say anything bad about that. It's just hearing stories of, women being induced just because it's a few days after their due date and things like that. I just don't see the point. I'm not understanding why are we not allowing for this natural process to happen. And also, I really want to start a conversation around, natural birth and why are women so terrified? Why are we only hearing horrible stories about birth? There are women who actually have orgasms while giving birth.
Really?
Yes, because it goes through that. Yeah, because as the baby passes through that passage, it sort of activates all of that, and there are many women who do have.
Then?
No, well, yes, it's all part
really
of it.
Strange.
Bodies are really amazing, but the point is, the aim is not to have an orgasm while you're having birth. But my point is, it is so natural that I think there was a story that there was some doctor who was trying to find pain relief for women. I'm not sure, like quite a while back. He was having these middle class sort of women come to him, and they were experiencing this huge pain during childbirth. So he was looking for all different solutions that he could provide as a doctor. And so once he went into the underground, but he saw this really pregnant woman, and she was basically going into labor, and he was really curious because she was a very like low class, you could say, in those days. So she was a poor lady. And you know the story?
I think I heard it.
Well, basically he started observing her because he found her behavior to be quite unusual, and she started almost becoming like a little bit like an animal. She started moving in a particular way. She was looking for quiet space. She was clearly looking for a safe space, like a cat might do, and things like that. So her movement changed, her breathing changed. What he found incredible is that no one was coaching, no one was telling her to lie down on her back, and she wasn't doing those things. So if anything, she was doing the opposite. She was crouching, she was moving. So she went to that corner, and he literally observed her give birth. And so it looked so natural and so normal, and she was so happy, and she just picked up her baby and she just held the baby. So he came up to her and he said, but oh my goodness, you just gave birth, wasn't it painful? And she asked him, why was it supposed to be? So to me, that story, it like really stayed with me, because once I've learned about it, I was like, wow, it doesn't have to be like this. Why are we not trying to learn more about our bodies, how we operate? And our bodies are incredible. You know, we give so much attention to, you know, new developments and things like even computers, and computers are great, but they can never compare to our brain. You know, we say, oh wow, we have planes that fly, yes, but it can never compare to a bird, you know, flying. What nature does is just absolutely incredible. Yes, we can be inspired, yes, we can come out with all these creations, but I think we really need to go back to our bodies and, you know, how amazing they are. And I had tremendous appreciation for my own body, even though I was out of shape, I was eating badly, there was definitely way too much wine way before, you know, a couple of years before the pregnancy. And so how did I get to a point where I wasn't appreciating myself? And when I did give birth, I was like, wow, my body is, I mean, I didn't give birth, it was C-section, but I don't know if you can technically say you gave birth. Yeah. But I really appreciated my body, what it did. You know, it nurtured this life. All these processes that happened. I think with knowledge comes appreciation. I think I've read somewhere that knowledge without experience is just philosophy, and experience without knowledge is ignorance. So if you combine the two, well, no, this is us, and so put us together. This is the magic once they put it together. So hopefully, we're hoping for the magic.
Yeah. Well, we've discovered we're a bit of a yin and yang, which is really good. But yeah, so I think
so. That story really struck a chord, and I just thought, wow, why are we not learning about this in schools? We're learning about biology, but let's learn more about our bodies. Our bodies are serving us. How can we respect ourselves more? How can we treat ourselves? You know, we're back to this topic of self-care, of self-love. You know, there is a lot of talk about it, but I don't think even with the talk, there is profound understanding of it. And I think, you know, like going through birth and having, you know, this experience really made me appreciate my body a lot more. And I went on a crazy journey after giving birth of wanting to get back to health and, you know, getting back to exercise. Like, it really made me appreciate things, and it didn't go to plan. So everything I've planned didn't happen. That was okay, perfectly fine, but I did learn. I'm so glad that I did have the plan, because the plan forced me to learn. It forced me to research, it forced me to talk to other women, you know, to find out. And it was still, even after me telling the story to my friends and other people, still only the women who had the traumatic experience would jump in and say, but mine was like this. And I was like, well, okay, I understand that you've experienced the pain, but let's go through it. And the lady proceeds to tell me that her labor was induced, and she says it felt like she was being cut when with glass. That was like how she experienced it. And I was like, well, why did they induce it? There was zero reason. Just because they were in a rush, they wanted, you know, things to be done quickly. She wasn't even really properly in labor. They just thought, oh, it's past you, shall we induce you? And if you don't know any better, you just say, well, of course I'm going to trust a medical professional. You know, if they're saying I should be induced, and obviously if you interfere with the body's process, then of course it's going to cause pain, because the body has no chance in catching up and going through that chemical process that happens inside, that actually allows you to get through those stages. And I really wanted to have the experience. I really wanted to prove the system wrong. I wanted to, and I'm extremely sensitive. So I was prepared for all sorts of things. I was prepared to try the gas and things if I needed to, but I was really set on hypnosis and really trying to get through the natural process, to a point that I even researched what a doula is, and I did even find a doula, because I didn't think that my husband would be able to support me how I wanted him to. And the discussion was that basically the doula lady would be with me, and she would take over communication, because one of the things is you shouldn't even be speaking to a pregnant lady, not pregnant lady, you shouldn't be speaking to a lady in labor. Why? Because a different part of the brain gets engaged. It's an animal brain that gets engaged. And if you start asking questions, the woman has to switch to the logical part, and that's when you feel the pain, because then you stop producing the chemicals, you stop producing all the hormones, all the process sort of stops, and then of course you're going to feel the pain because you're not in that natural process. And so it was amazing to hear this doula, the lady who had who helped assist, I think at this point with over 200 babies or so she's seen, you know, a lot. And she was just saying how a woman literally just becomes, if she's allowed to go through the natural process, she becomes like a cat. You know, she really does start looking for the safe space. And if you just allow for this process, and her job was to take over all the thinking. So that's why you would like discuss with her every single kind of scenario. What are you happy with and what not? You know, if they need to do checks, then I just give the okay that they just come and do the checks without asking me, without touching me, without, no, I mean, obviously they'd have to touch me, but like without disturbing me in some way.
That's interesting.
And I really, really want you to have that experience. And also the fact that why are we lying on the back and, you know, and pushing the baby that way, that is also not natural. It's again, it's convenient for the doctor. It's convenient for the doctor to be in this position and to be like that. And
because when you're in pain, like even cramps, you always crouch down.
Yeah, and it's easy, and you know, the birth is given as you're crouching down, you know, so
maybe
it's
that's
not...
why, you know, it's pain. It's because you're not in that coping sort of position.
It's part of it. It's the whole thing. It really is starts with the chemical processes that happen in the body to support you. So it's not just the position you are in. All of it needs to work together. It's the whole process. It's the whole you know, kind of
the mindset as well. Being in that animal instinct sort of.
Yes. So this was an important thing because as you may gather now, I really like to think a lot. So that was a big concern for me. How am I just going to switch into this animal brain? Because it's not a normal thing for me. And yet, or maybe is it, you know, maybe it is normal because we are human. We are women, you know, we did get pregnant naturally. So, you know, why not give birth naturally? It's just a shame that it was breached. So.
Yeah.
Oh, my plan didn't quite work, but I really wanted to have the experience. I say that simultaneously, I was still scared. So I do think maybe, you know...
Is that maybe because there's this fear that's instilled in us? So
yeah, because of the stories we hear.
Yeah,
I mean, my sister's story was an absolutely horrifying one. So I'm not even going to tell you, but just... having heard that story, you know, it was really scary. I didn't want to go through that, and I didn't want to experience that. My mom almost died. And also we have a particular thing, I think it's like a genetic thing, where, you know, the sac doesn't come out, and they need to kind of manually take it out. And you might, and this is when a woman can bleed to death if it's not done properly. So yeah. So it's a very delicate procedure. So I've made sure to inform the doctors way in advance because both my mom and my sister had it.
Yeah. You
know, and my mom literally pretty much almost died. I mean, it's a miracle that she survived. So you know, you hear all this, it is scary.
But I think that is where fear comes from. It's the stories you hear, because who starts that fear? It's someone maybe has an experience, and then everyone feeds off that.
And especially it's in your family, you know. So especially when you hear it from people so near and dear. And of course, then you know there are friends and all these other stories. And again, why are we only sharing these traumatic experiences? You know, I really. Women who had good experiences, please let us know. But I do think we are not taught, and I think medical professionals are not helping because they're not informing us of this, and they don't want to support this. This is harder for them. Please, we have to realize they want to be, you know, why do they tell you only come to the hospital when you are so much dilated? Why? Because they can allocate only so many hours, you know, for you so that you are out and somebody else is in, you know. I also wanted to give birth in water. This was another thing that we were considering and looking.
Hypnobirthing in water.
Yeah, that was another.
Pool birth, a water birth.
I was even looking to do it at home. I mean, I was really researching all sorts of options, and would have really liked to have the experience. I think it's easier to say now, but I mean, I still was apprehensive because I understood that psychologically, I was scared and I was holding on to these horrible stories. So it was hard to just let go and say, oh yes, birth is natural. You shouldn't be scared of it. You know, you don't just get rid of certain beliefs that are there in your mind, of course. And this is why I wanted to start the conversation around this particular topic. And I think I really do think it should be taught at schools. It's so basic, you know. we're learning certain things at school that we are never really applying, but this is how our bodies work. And men need to know, they need to appreciate our bodies as well, how our bodies work. It's absolutely incredible.
Even the emotions we go through, like, you know, if we're grumpy and all of this, like, I think if they knew more, they would know what we're going through to then handle it better, be more understanding.
So I did rumble on a little bit, but I feel very passionate, and for me it's a disappointment that I didn't get a chance to, you know, test my theory and really experience it in that sense. However, I do think things work out for the best, and again,
you said you learned from it.
I definitely learned from it, and I was so passionate that I even wanted to start a movement with my doula to start going to schools and literally just be talking about this and come up with a proper plan with all the proper. I'm not very good with like medical names, and I keep on forgetting things, but just to really have a proper structure, but make it interesting, and
to learn.
Not too long, but just give these girls an idea, not even an idea, help them understand their own bodies and the fact that, you know, they don't have to fear a natural process. This is like the things that are happening in the world. It's like we're moving so far away from all things natural, you know. But anyway, this is one of the books.
Yeah,
so this is one of the books to explore.
Can you see it?
Yeah. So if you wanted to check. But there are a lot of materials out there. I mean, you'll easily find plenty.
Exactly. You said you were scared. I think I went the opposite way. So I heard these stories, but I just went into it like,
whatever will be, will be.
See. Yeah. And then it was like, don't, because Dean always says to me, don't worry until there's something to worry about. So I kind of went in with this thing, like you can start worrying about how it's all going to play out and all of this, but you don't know, and it doesn't do any good. So I just went into it like, let's deal with it as it comes.
I just thought that knowledge can help.
It's true.
Just not necessarily to worry about how it will be, but to learn how you can support yourself. And I think I really did support myself in many ways, like even with the osteopath appointments. And I find it interesting that the doctors told you that your passage or whatever was too narrow for you to give birth.
That's probably because I wasn't fully dilated at
exactly.
the point.
I was going to say, I mean, I'm inclined to disagree with this, not on no other basis, but just the fact that the bodies are amazing, and if her body conceived this baby, the body would have birthed it. So that is my belief. So maybe you weren't dilated enough, but I'm just curious.
I wasn't at the point, because obviously she was engaged and she was coming, like the head was kind of past a little bit. But yeah, so I think they had to pull her back out. But
you know, labor can go on for a really long time. Once again, they didn't want to give you the time. But and more importantly, you know, once they gave you the epidural, then that slows things down because you don't feel the contractions. The whole point is the contractions then help, and then it's like it pushes the baby along. But if you're not feeling them, you're not helping yourself either. So of course it slowed the process down, and they didn't want to keep you. They didn't want to keep you there. They just wanted to be done with this whole process. Partially, maybe they were worried, but it's normal for it to take a really long time. I've known people to be in labor for 48 hours, for 72 hours. But if you're going through this natural process, women even rest and you can even eat. That's what I'm saying. It was important for me to research, because then I could question anything that was being told to me. But if you don't know any better, you have to trust the doctor. Who else are you going to trust? You know,
exactly.
They of course at this point they do know better and they do know more. But if you do have somebody like a doula who's you know helped all these over 200 women, you know, to have their babies and things like that, and you learn about this experience, and if these women are saying, you know, why are we not addressing this? Why are we not telling women that there is a different way? We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Obviously, it's an interesting stage, because first the conception, then the pregnancy, and then the birth, and then of course you think you're done with it, but actually this is where it all begins. You know. So, but these are the important stages in terms of matrescence, in terms of you becoming a mother, and all this process, the transition. and the processes that change you literally, physically, emotionally, mentally, on every level. You know, it's a really huge process, and that's why we're talking about it. So thank you for joining us. As always, do write your comments and ask us questions and tell us about your experiences. We really want to know about your experiences.
Definitely.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.